This is the CHRILLCAST. I'm Chris.
And I'm Will.
And I'm the Sega nerd. I'm SEGA'S BAE. That's me, right there.
That's right. You said that in the
Back
Discord.
To the how appropriate.
Anyways, today is what, Will?
It is Wild Card Wednesday.
And this episode is kind of about Adam, but I'm going to let him plug his channel first.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that nerd there talking about Back to the Future, which has nothing to do with Sega. That's me. I usually talk about a lot of retro video games. Not only like I review like oddball hardware that is usually like, oh, this stupid little console only came out in Japan or the UK. Let's talk about it for 8 hours. I do stuff like that, or I talk about some of the history of random things, try to find prototypes. I do a lot of weird stuff, man. All retro games though. The one thing I never do though is like, hey, look, let's actually like play a game on the channel.
Hey, to be fair, you have done that a couple times.
Yeah, like a couple ever. But I've done one game review. One. In 11 years, I've done one. And I can see it right there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've got it right here.
Yep, it's the only one.
I'm really surprised at the low, like not low, but lower view count than some of your other videos on that one. Although...
first of all, the video was late. I don't think I did that until, was it like December? Even though the game had been out for a few weeks by that point. But also, it's just like, I love Shenmue, but it doesn't exactly get massive numbers.
But you're the Shenmue guy, no?
Yeah, and the numbers reflect that. I love Shenmue, but like I can make fun of it. Like it's not a huge success financially.
Actually, I would be willing to bet you the length of the review might be the intimidating part for people thinking about clicking on it. Like, if you see a 15-minute review and then you see Adam's 47-minute review, unless you know who Adam is, you might not watch that video.
I like long-winded reviews.
I do too, but you and I were a dying breed on YouTube, with all the 10-minute generation.
Short attention span, yo. Hey guys, welcome to the video. The game is really good. I like it. Okay, bye.
So if you guys want to know, if you want Fortnite, Minecraft, Roblox. Anyways, if
that's
you guys...
how you know we're old. I don't get what these kids are doing. These kids and the damn Pac-Mans.
Oh man.
Oh. So, if you guys want to know a lot about Adam, listen to some of his 4-hour podcasts. They're much, much longer than our podcast.
You jest, but the one I just recorded, it's not out publicly. It's on my Patreon at the moment, though. That one is the longest one I ever did. We did it with a buddy of mine. 2 hours, 37 minutes.
You've got a 4-hour one on here.
Podcast?
Yeah, your Figure It Out cast. I swear I saw a 4-hour one.
I don't know how I've done live streams that are that long. The longest live stream I did was 7 hours and 1 minute.
Holy
cow! I don't think, and that's just me, just a live Q&A for 7 hours. But I don't think I've ever done that long of a podcast. I don't see how I could have.
I swore I just saw it on your. Hold on. Let me see if I can find this again. I swore it said Figure It Out cast, and it was like 4 hours.
It might have been like near one of the live streams, and your eye just caught the wrong thing.
Maybe. Okay, I'll find it.
I don't think I ever sat down and was like, yeah, 4-hour podcast, just me.
Look, if I find this podcast and I send it to you on Twitter, you have to tweet publicly like, hey, he found it, he was right. And if I don't find it, then I will tweet, Adam, you win.
They'll be like, win what?
No context.
But you just retweet that you won, and that's it. Nobody will have to know what it is.
Yeah. I'll put some winky faces on it.
All right, listen. So, what are we here to talk about? We're here to talk about Sega and Adam. So,
yeah,
Adam,
that's right.
Why don't you tell everybody how, like, the origin story of you and Sega?
So they had like video games, and I liked them. So like, no, I mean, what part are you asking me? Like when I first heard of them as a company, or what are you asking?
Well, I know you had a Genesis, right?
Oh, so that's what you want to hear. You want to hear like how I actually started playing stuff?
No, I was more interested in how you like, just like what was your backstory on Sega, and then like how do you guys got kind of how you started getting intertwined with them a little bit.
Sure. When I was a kid, like all my cousins were getting video game consoles. They were getting like Genesis, Super Nintendo, or whatever. And I kept bugging my mom. I was like, I want video games. I want to be like, cool. And she's like, here's an Atari 2600.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, what the hell? And she's like, it's the same thing. I'm like, it's really not. But so like, you go to the playground, everybody's talking about Sonic or Mario, and I'm like, Pac-Man, yeah. It's like that version sucks. I'm like, you don't know that. like, but they did, right? But anyway, so eventually get a Genesis, kind of fall in love with Sega as a brand, but like I, like most people, didn't have a Sega CD, didn't have a 32X, though I did know someone with one. Never even heard of the Saturn while it was out. Like, that says a lot about Sega's marketing. And then when the Dreamcast came about, it was like, whoa! It went straight from Genesis to Dreamcast, and it was in my child's mind. But it was like, yeah, you just got this like super nostalgic passion, but also the Dreamcast was an awesome console, and I just kind of fell in love with them as a concept. And then, of course, just a couple years later, they weren't making consoles anymore. So I was kind of a big champion of like, I love Sega stuff, and I feel like they flopped because I didn't try harder, even though it's a ridiculous thing to put on a 13-year-old. Thanks a lot for that. But so I just kept, you know, wanting to see what else they could potentially produce over time, and I just was very supportive of them. But I became a big fan of particularly the Shenmue franchise, as we've talked about a little bit in here. I really didn't respect that game when it initially came out, but then over time I just realized it was like the greatest game ever. But that was it. I was just kind of talking about them a lot, and that game in particular, for years, until a couple of years ago, Sega started following me on Twitter, which I didn't really think a whole lot of, because for a time they were following like 1 million accounts, so I didn't really think anything of it. Like, and I mean that like literally, they were following like 1 million. Like, they had whoever was in charge of it for a long time. When you followed them, they just auto followed back, so it was like it wasn't even a thing. So I never thought anything of it. And then randomly, they started following me on Instagram. I'm like, okay, now that's weird, because there's like, why would you do that? Then their other accounts were starting to follow me, and then at one point, I just noticed that like they were following me on all these different social platforms. So I like put all that together in like an image and like posted it somewhere, and then they commented on it. And they're like, "Yeah, but you won't respond to our messages." And I was like, "What?" Like,
wait, what?
Like, yeah, they had apparently been trying to message me, but I didn't know that. So I contacted them, Twitter, and they're like, "Oh, thanks. All right." So they wanted to talk to me, and so we went back and forth, and they were like, so we have this thing coming up that we think you would be like perfect for, but in order to even talk about it, we need you to sign an NDA. And I was like, you're doing a Shenmue re-release. And they're like, you realize I can't confirm or deny anything until you sign the NDA. I'm like, no, dude, there's only one reason you would contact me. Let's keep it real. Like, and I just like, please sign this. I was like, okay. So I signed it, and and then we just. But basically, from then, we just went on and talked about it. And I ended up going, they brought me out to Japan shortly after that. And I ended up advising them a lot on the Shenmue re-release. In fact, I believe we pulled up the video there that I did with them. I did a few different things.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, we had this video ready to go, and I didn't put it up.
Yeah, it's whatever. We went to, what was really funny about that one is we went to Dobuita in Yokosuka, Japan, which is where a good chunk of Shenmue 1 takes place. And hilariously, due to just sheer coincidence, they were like, do you have a passport? Are you able to travel? I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Japan in 2 weeks. Well, this is awkward because we want you to go to Japan in like 4 weeks from now. So like in between there, it just went back and forth. And this video, when this was shot, I had just been to this exact area only like 2 weeks before by coincidence. I never went. This was the only time I ever went there on purpose. Okay. It was always very strange. So when we get there, they're like, yeah, we're going to have this guy. He's a Japanese dude. He's going to guide us there, so nobody has to worry about it, whatever. And our Japanese guy didn't show up. So it was all these people from the UK and me. And they were like, how do we get around? What do we do? I'm like, I got cell phone service. I go to Japan all the time. I know exactly where we're going. Everybody follow me. And then I'm guiding all of the Sega people around Dobuita, and then pretending like I don't really know where we're going. Because it's supposed to kind of, like, I knew where I was, like, really well, but you kind of have to look at it and be like, oh, look at that. So, like, when I'm presenting stuff, I'm more presenting it to Imran Yusuf, the other guy in the video, more so than I am, like, discovering it, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but from there, it was just kind of, like, constant communication with these guys. They're awesome dudes. I've done more stuff with them, more videos, more events. I love working with Sega. They're great. My official title from them is SEGA'S BAE. You can Google that. That is a real thing.
Do you have a card from them?
I have a tweet. A screenshot. How about that?
There you go. What was I had something that shoot. It was like pent up right in the back of my head here. I had it.
All right.
Now I've lost it. Ugh.
I tend to kill a lot of trains of thought.
No, you didn't do it. It's totally my brain that's just not working correctly here. So had they been trying to message you and you just weren't getting them?
I had no way of knowing because I basically had PMs from people I'm not following blocked. I wasn't actually following Sega. They were following me, and I wasn't following them. At some point, that was when they called me out. They're like, "Why don't you follow us?" Like they publicly declared that. It's like, oh, sure. And then they hit me up.
I had an interesting thing where somebody that came on our channel stopped following us after they weren't on our channel anymore. I was like, wait, what? Why did you stop following us? I'm not gonna call that person out, but it was really funny. They were like, "Oh, whoops!" And they followed us again. Chris. That's probably, you're right. It's because they talked to me. Like, I'm not gonna follow this dude.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I will say this: Twitter and Instagram. It's really interesting how they mute or disallow communications, and it's probably for good for some people. But in general, it's a little frustrating when you're trying to talk to people and you know that they would probably talk to you and you can't because they're not following you, or for whatever reason the filter doesn't allow you to contact that person.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that is true.
I was just lucky Adam actually retweeted us, or responded to a tweet I sent you, and then that hooked this all up.
I try to be pretty good about that. I can't say I'm like perfect at it, but I try to be.
Now, had I known you had the Discord server, I would have just went right there.
Also an idea.
There you go.
You know what's funny is that like I'm so connected with this game that this video that we're looking at right now, actually Best Buy hosts this video on their website. So if you go to like the Shenmue 1 and 2 page to buy it for Xbox One or PS4 and you scroll through their images and promotional materials, you'll just see a screenshot of me.
That's crazy.
That's hilarious. It's the Shenmue 1 and 2, right?
Yeah, the Shenmue 1 and 2 collection.
I don't know if you're allowed to say this, but how long did you know about Shenmue 1 and 2 before Sega officially announced it?
Quite some time.
Like,
I'm not sure they would want me to declare exactly what that time frame is, but I guess I knew for a while.
Were they planning that before the Shenmue 3 thing was even announced?
No, not that far back.
Okay.
I learned a lot more about its development, which is all stuff I still can't talk about. All I'll say is people think that this was like, oh, Shenmue 3 is coming. Let's just quickly port together this thing and just put it out there.
Mm.
Not true.
Knowing what I know about game development, which is not much to be fair, but knowing what I do know, I know that's not possible to just be like, oh yeah, let's just make this happen in 6 months.
Let's just drag and drop the Dreamcast game into the Xbox One folder and it will run. That's how it works. Everybody, didn't you know that? That's just all you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. There's your proof. There's the video with Adam in it. Right on Best Buy. BestBuy.com.
Yeah, on mobile that's more interesting because it's like you rather than be separated into a videos tab like that, it's all just considered promotional material. So it just displays the thumbnail. So you just right click, you just like swipe right, and then you're like, oh, fuck, it's that guy.
You should go to Best Buy and be like, hey, I hope you know this. I'm on your website.
I did, and they the Best Buy, whoever runs the Best Buy Twitter watches me.
Really? That's cool.
Yes, because when my Gamers Club Unlocked membership expired, I remember posting about that. I didn't tag Best Buy. I didn't do anything. I just said it expired, and I like posted an emoji, like a GIF of like sadness from Inside Out. You know, just crying. The blue girl, whatever. And then I got a response from Best Buy being like, "That's a real shame because we just love watching Playload." I was like, "What?" I still have a screenshot of that. Because it just blew my mind. I was like, what? But yeah, occasionally, for some reason, Best Buy responds to me. They don't follow me because I don't think they're allowed to, but they do. Whoever runs it does occasionally respond.
That's cool.
That's funny. That's awesome. I guess I do have another question. What's the coolest thing that you can talk about that Sega's done for you?
I mean, I guess I have to go with the soft spot of that whole thing with the whole Shenmue experience there because I just have the soft spot of that being the first time. That basically was like, if I hadn't already been to Japan a few times, and if that wasn't actually, I mean, I had just been to that exact area 2 weeks prior, but if I hadn't, first of all, the whole idea that my favorite childhood video game company is like, here, come to visit the land of your childhood or whatever, it would have been crazy awesome. But after that, it was just getting to know all these guys and being like, dude, everyone who runs this place is kick ass. Like, these are just really cool people. And, you know, I got to say that's just kind of it. I mean, the other stuff that I've been to or been around with them for is neat, but that will always be like the coolest one. You know, they brought me to the UK a couple times, New York, various places. Unfortunately, this year was supposed to be a bigger year for them because it's their 60th, and there was supposed to be a lot of cool stuff going on this year as far as like, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but it was going to be pretty cool. But guess what kind of screwed all of
Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I think the speculation for any company would be that this year could have been a much bigger year than what actually happened. And unfortunately, due to the current world circumstances, it just didn't. So
yeah. Well, I'll say this because this was something I was planning. It was never signed on, but because this was their 60th anniversary, they were going to do a lot of like really cool videos, and I was going to play a big role in a lot of these videos. One in particular I had orchestrated was that I found a place with the original Hawaii era Sega hardware. Did you know that the Sega was founded in Hawaii?
I think I did know that because you've mentioned on your thing that the original Sega company was an American company, right?
They were American until like 1983.
Yeah, and then the Sega of Japan was a thing shortly after that, right?
Yeah, Sega is short for Service Games, and they were just like an all-purpose entertainment company. They were eventually owned by Gulf and Western, who sold them in '83 to a Japanese company. Hence, you get what you have now. But
I think you talked about it in your SG-1000 video, so if anybody wants to hear it, go there and watch that.
Well, the piece I didn't talk about too much in there, because this is more specific to something else, was that we were going to do this cool thing where there's very little of their Hawaii era or hardware left on Earth anywhere. But I managed to track down a place that had some, and we were talking about like making a video, and that was all going to happen, but it was like, oh well. Can't go anywhere now, can't do anything. So I to be honest, aside from the fact that I just love them, I have no idea what's in it for them, because like there are so many much bigger YouTubers, and so I just feel very humbled and appreciative that they even acknowledge my existence, much less like let's go do stuff.
Well, do they do partnerships like this with other YouTubers as well?
I don't know, to be honest with you. Like, there has been some talk about that, but I don't. It's not like something they would run by me. That's got to be an internal decision. I don't actually work for them. I want that very clear.
Yes, I'm aware.
I've never made any money off of Sega. They just take my money when I buy their shit. But but they are cool enough to be like, yeah, we'll send you here, and you can do this and that, and blah blah blah. So it's like, okay, cool, works for me.
I think the coolest collabs on YouTube are like the genuine, we're both interested in what you're doing, I'm interested in what you're doing, and then it's like the paths cross, and it's like a perfect amalgamation of like good things. Like, you know, love
it's like
Shenmue.
They're partnering with you because you actually have the passion. Sorry, Chris. You're delayed on my end.
you just jumped right over me. That's fine, whatever. But basically what I'm saying is it's cool when a collaboration happens between two people that are very passionate about the same thing, you know? And you're very passionate about the games they're making, and they're very passionate about the fans that like their games. So I think that's really cool.
I agree. I would say that, okay, so I admit I haven't been following all this news lately about like Sean and Wood and how they're no longer part of the Nintendo network and stuff. But
has Sean been removed? I know Wood is not. I didn't know.
I thought that was. I could be wrong, but I could swear I saw that in his like thumbnail or something, or maybe I haven't seen it. All I know is that is emblematic of Nintendo's relationship with their fan base, which is if you try to celebrate Nintendo's history, they punish you for it. Which is like, hey, I made this. I love Mario. I made my own Mario game. Everybody here, it's given away for free. Go enjoy. Cease and desist. We're going to pursue legal action. Holy shit, fuck you. We're Nintendo. Whereas Sega's philosophy was exactly the opposite. It's like some guy embarrasses them by making, when Sonic the Hedgehog 4 Part 2 came out, Sega's actual game, some guy, I think it was Christian Whitehead, comes out and he's like, hey, I made a Sonic game the same day and mine is far better. Here it is, go play it for free. he embarrasses them, and still Sega's like, wow, you can't do that, but holy shit, come work for us. Here's a job. Go make Sonic Mania.
That was really cool.
That's basically what happened with like Streets of Rage 4. Like a guy starts working on Streets of Rage remake, and Sega's like, you can't really do that, but you want a job. You can go, like their philosophy is very different. It's like, why are we pissing on our fans when these guys could be like really helpful in celebrating our IPs and history? And so I got to think that that's definitely plays a role in it. Is just like, well, this guy likes Sega. He's not just some guy. Like I said, you could have like a YouTuber there who's got like, I don't know, 10 million subs or whatever. Like, I mean, and he could show up and be like, I will do the job, and I'll just talk very generically about why I'm here. And yes, that will get bigger numbers, but you can tell he's just kind of doing it because he's supposed to do it.
Like Raid Shadow Legends ads.
Here's the minutia of, like, look at the video you pulled up right now. I have 2 versions of the fucking Sega SG-1000 on the table. And I'm wearing a shirt that, like, first of all, they gave me that shirt, but it also has an SG-1. Like, who would have that? Like, who would care? But, like, I do. So that's the only thing I can think of that they're like, well, that guy gives a shit. Bring him.
Yes.
To be fair, the first channel I go to for anything Sega is yours. And then second would be either I sometimes go off down to like RGT85's old videos or like Southern Sega Gentleman specifically for the Saturn. But to be fair, he doesn't put out videos as often as you do. And RGT hasn't put out a new one that I haven't seen in a long time. So yours is always the first channel I go to for anything Sega.
That puts me in an awkward position because I don't really do news for views stuff.
That's not what I go there for.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what I'm saying. Like, if you're like, oh, dude, where's the video on the Sega Series X bullshit? I'm like, nope. I'm not doing that. Like, aside from the fact that I knew that wasn't happening, even if I didn't know that wasn't happening, I fucking knew that wasn't happening. like, there's no way. So, like, yeah. I don't like to go out and make videos that are bullshit because they're just like, hey, here, let's all speculate about something we all know is ridiculous and impossible, and I'm obviously doing so that you click on my video, which I hate that philosophy. So I never do that. And at the same time, it's just like, why would I don't want to make videos where I'm just like, hey, everybody calm down. I know you're happy and excited about something, but let's all bring it back down to earth. That's not an interesting video either, where I'm just like, let me break your heart. Sega's not making a console again. So, like, what do I do? Like, what
Adam's
video
like, I'm going to cover the Casio Loopy.
I'll cover the Casio Loopy because nobody gives a shit about that thing.
I watched that video like twice. Because I watched it the first time all the way through, and I was like, wait, what did I just watch? And so I watched it again, and I was like, okay, this is the most interesting video about something I'm never going to ever interact with, but I still watched it.
Yeah, I jacked myself up full of coffee on that one, and I was just like, all right, let's talk about this fucking stupid console
Sticker
that no
machine.
one beats on. Yeah. But yeah, that kind of stuff I do. But like I said, I don't want to do a video that I know is either just being done for revenue purposes or is going to intentionally just break the hearts of people. I just don't see the point. So like, I'll only entertain that notion when I don't already know it and I want to simply explore the subject. But if I know that's not happening, that's really disingenuous.
Yeah.
So does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So closing, would you say that your relationship with Sega has been an entirely positive and good part of your life since it started?
I mean, there was the time they beat the shit out of me as an initiation, but other than that, no, yeah, of course. Yeah, no, it's been awesome to be so involved and to get these like random weird opportunities that make no sense. Like I did a video with CHRILLCAST. They're like one of the biggest channels in the UK. And they were like, we're going to do this big Shenmue video. So they were like, Sega, who do we get? And they're like, get that fucking guy. And so they brought me over. It makes no sense. You like watch the video. It's like some of the funniest British comedians that exist on YouTube. And then me. Like, just, and I'm just the guy who's like, why are you doing that? That's not part of the game. Like, yeah. But my point is, it's very cool to get all the opportunities that have come through relationships with groups like Sega, 2K, Ubisoft, because somehow I fell into that. I fell into just like becoming friends with a lot of people who are in these roles, and it's like you get some perks, I guess, but you also just get like information, and you just get to know more about how the industry works. So it's like, so whenever you hear me talking about like, guys, this is never going to happen because that's ridiculous, I'm not just pulling that out of my ass. It's like I talk to someone who's like, LOL, no. But yeah, I don't know.
I guess my closing thing is, guys, you have to go find Adam in Shenmue 3. I know it's not a Sega-produced game. I know it's Yu Suzuki in his studio, but Adam's in Shenmue 3.
Japan distributed it.
Okay, fair.
Does that make you feel better?
It makes me feel a lot better. It's part of the video now. But find Adam in Shenmue 3. Screenshot it. Tweet it out.
I did that.
I know you did, but I want people to find it themselves.
I know.
I did.
like that.
I think somebody in your Discord sent a picture of it, but I think you did too.
I did. You know what's funny is if you play the game, there is a hotel notebook like that just has like messages from the other fans, Kickstarter fans. My message appears twice, and I got a million tweets about like, what did you do? Why are you special? Why do you get two? And I'm like, did you also notice the guy like above me got the same message twice? There's a bug. They just put the same page on there twice. It's nothing special. Favoritism, fanboy. I'm like, it's a coincidence. It's just a bug.
Anyways,
so
I challenge our.
Will assign...
Go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
No.
Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
All I was saying is people assign conspiratorial meanings to a lot of things that aren't really.
It's another Koralik conspiracy. No.
I bribed everybody. I don't know with what money or for what purpose, but I did it because I'm bad.
Execute Order 66. Anyways.
66.
As always, I'm Chris.
I'm Will.
Palpatine.
We will see you.
Rise of Skywalker was fucking terrible.
And I totally agree with that. We'll see you in the next CHRILLCAST.